CareerGPS Global Positioning Strategies, the place where you'll get insights that accelerate your job search and career growth. With Katrina Brittingham, get tips and advice from thought leaders from around the globe that will guide you to the next destination in your career. And now, your host, Katrina Brittingham.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Katrina Brittingham, your navigator on your road to success. Welcome to another episode of Career GPS. And today I have a guest with me, and she is going to speak on success for introverts. But before we start, I do have to make some announcements about the book that I have on Amazon that is on sale for $14.99 for Why Not Me. It is an autobiography of my life when it comes to working in corporate and transitioning over to business. And being an introvert myself, the struggles that I went through to try to move up the corporate ladder and overcoming those insecurities so I can do that and to move into my business. So if you are interested, it is available on Amazon.com, and also to let you know about the ExecutiveGPS Conference. Yes, that is the ExecutiveGPS Conference, which is a leadership conference for entrepreneurs, those who want to start as an entrepreneur, and small businesses. This conference will be unique as it will provide you with takeaways that you can use immediately for your business, to start your business, to grow your business, and to thrive in business. And in order to register for that, registration is open. We have a pre-conference and also a conference, and you can register for the conference and just the conference itself is October 30th and 31st, and it has moved from being in Philadelphia, PA, due to the COVID-19 outbreak to virtual. So we have a virtual platform. We have adjusted for what is going on currently. So if you want to check that out, again, the website is www.executivegps.com. And now our guest is Karen Scott of Karen Scott Speaks. And I'm excited to have her. Karen was born in Philadelphia, the youngest of two girls. Even as a child, she was recognized as a gifted orator, honing her skills in church and in school. As a teenager, she taught various classes for children. As a young adult, she was teaching mature adults various life lessons. Her gifts has matured over the years as she participates in events, workshops, and conferences all over the country, speaking to many different audiences on a plethora, I love that word, of subjects. Karen just published her first devotional, Exodus, 40 Lessons from the Wilderness, which can be purchased on Amazon. And without further ado, I want to bring Karen Scott on. Hello, Karen.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. How are you? I'm excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm so happy that you are on for our first July show. And I just wanted to start with a question about yourself. Can you tell the audience about you, just a little bit more about you and how your services can assist them?
Okay, I am a motivational speaker, and I speak to women's groups, like business associations, business groups, as well as Christian or spiritual groups. I've also added colleges to my roster of customers as well. So if you need to motivate, encourage, challenge, provoke your audience to be their best selves, that's where I come in and really help your audience to get to the next level. Just confirming what they already know is what I say. And so my website and all of my social media handles, Karen Scott Speaks. I can do live or virtual events, which is, that's the way of the world right now. So
yes.
I'm available in all kind of facets.
That is awesome. And what topics do you speak on?
I speak on some of my more popular topics are mental health awareness, particularly among the faith groups, women's groups in terms of anything from relationships to self-love and self-esteem. For business, it's more for the small business and the mid-sized business. These are people who are on the ground, they know what they want to do, and they just want to grow to the next level. So I help them with that. That's a popular topic that I get asked about as well. And Christian conferences, I do women's Bible studies about a whole plethora of topics, and I like to tie the Bible or spiritual truths to everyday life lessons. The Bible is an old book, but it's still relevant today. And so I like to blow the dust off the Bible and make it relevant to everyday life.
That's awesome. I love that because I too follow Bible principles, and there are lessons for today, like you said. Lessons on confidence, lessons on business and how you should do business. There's lessons for everything. And above all, the Bible is a history book. So it has dates and things, and you can track it back to times in history. And so that's why I love it so much, other than it being, a spiritual book. But me being the person that I am, the introvert, and most introverts are heavy thinkers and tend to analyze and pick things apart. And so when you have that, and it's like a treasure hunt for your mind. And so, you can look up words and find out what they meant at the time, because definitions of words do change, maybe slightly or maybe totally. And also it gives you a sense of what was going on at the time. So you can pick up a history book, and when it says King Darius, you can pick up a book to learn about King Darius's reign and what was going on there. So that being said, what led you into your profession?
I've always been blessed with the gift of speaking, and I was just sitting on my gift, or I was doing it unprofessionally, but I was sitting on it, and it was something I was aching to do for a long time. And when God or the universe, I don't want to alienate people who are not Christians, when the universe puts something on your heart, it's best to just go ahead and do it, because it's just going to sit and annoy you and get on your nerves until you operate in what you're trying to do. So I, ever since December, I said, Lord, I want a certain amount of bookings each month. And when I say every month, there has been bookings, there has been, just opportunities out of nowhere, and I'm just enjoying this journey.
That is awesome. I really like that, what you said, as far as if you're not working in your gift and your gifting, it's going to keep coming back because it is a part of you. And it's going to be that nagging. I tell people it's like a hot pin, just sticking you. People are going to start asking you questions about it, like, so, do you do this for a living, or they'll start asking, so when are you going to do X, Y, and Z thing? It just keeps coming up until you do it. I've experienced that myself and everything, until I got over whatever insecurities I had. I was just like, what, this just keeps coming up. And, I said, I put God to the challenge, and I said, if you want me to do this, then you're going to have to do it. I'm not doing it myself as far as just going out and starting a business, even though I had entrepreneurs all through my family. And they always ask me, when are you going to start a business? I said, that's y'all thing. My thing is the corporate thing. So I was like, I'm staying in my lane. And when you put that challenge out there, God replies. And same way when you're like, I want clients every month, he replies. And so that's why I'm here. And to be honest, in going into business, I never expected it to move in the way that it did. I had no plans on having a radio show when I started this out and everything. So when you just take that first step with that one piece that God has given you, you will be surprised where it grows to and where it takes you.
Wow, yes. Mhm.
Yep. And so I do have a question, because I know that's nagging with everyone, is how has COVID-19 impacted your business? And what would you say to someone who is having an impact from COVID-19 with their business?
For the speaking industry, it's been a blessing and a curse. It's all virtual, which means that's a good and a bad, because I live in Norfolk, and so if an event was in D.C., someone from California would think twice to even entertain that opportunity. Well, competition is everywhere. As long as somebody has a phone, all my competitors are right there. I just did a women's conference, and the host was in Australia. So, I mean, it's opened me up to new markets, but it's opened other people up to new markets as well. So, like I said, it's much more, your reach is greater, but the competition is greater. The budgets are smaller, so the speaking fees tend to be less. Listen, folks, whether you're in speaking or not, this is a great time to get information. I'm seeing some A-list speakers selling tickets for pennies on the dollar. I mean, people whose conferences could easily go for $1,000 are now, it's just $100 because it's so, everything's so accessible. So, but that leaves this small motivational speaker, if they're only charging pennies on the dollar, it's harder for me to move into certain markets. So, like I said, it's even more competitive, smaller budget, smaller fees, and with virtual events, people forget about them. They'll pay for it, but then they'll forget about it. Or, you know, this particular class or program or telesummit they're registered in, well, Facebook is just 2 clicks away, and Instagram. So people are much more distracted, whereas with the live events, if somebody's going to pay $300 for a conference, they're going to be there. They're going to be there early. They're going to turn off their phone. They're going to be focused. And so there's a lot more distractions with the virtual events. And so in a lot of ways, even though you may have 100, 200 people pay for your telesummit, who's going to really show up, you know, after all these things happen? So it's just been, you know, there's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons, and so we're all just learning as we go. But events are definitely still happening. It's just like the number of events that I have been seeing has quadrupled, just quadrupled. Like the calendar has been thrown out. Everybody can do a telesummit. Everybody can do a teleconference. And so that leaves more opportunities. So we're just rolling with the punches. Opportunities are there. If you're trying, listen, this is a time to get in with the speaking industry, because if you're kind of uneasy on stage, well, virtual events give you some level of comfort. And so you can practice with the virtual, and then when you get on stage and you worked out the kinks in your speaking, you're much more comfortable. So this is the time to do some test driving if you're interested in the motivational speaking type of thing. You know, churches are doing, you know, their women's conferences on like the world has exploded in terms of events. So, you know, and the other thing with live events, and this is just with live events, especially in the African American but most other cultures, there's a lot of feedback in the live. So you can tell if your audience is getting a little tired. You can tell it. You can read the room. Whereas with virtual, you know, you're just speaking into the mic. You're speaking into your phone or your laptop, and you're hoping people are not giving you as much feedback. And so that could be a challenge, because once you get on stage in a live event, oh, they're going to give you some feedback. Those nonverbal cues will definitely be much louder, and that can be helpful, but it can also be intimidating for the newer speakers. So I'm glad I did speaking for the amount of time unprofessionally so that I could handle both the live and the virtual now in my business. So,
and that's absolutely the truth. You pulled out a couple of key things, and one of the things is that now things have exploded. Yes. You see so much, it's so much noise, so much static out there that you have to really work now to differentiate yourself from the crowd. And so it's important that you do that. And what makes you different? Why do they want to bring you on? And I know personally as a speaker myself, and a conference presenter myself, that was the big thing that would get me in the door, what differentiated me from everyone else. And also with putting a conference together, I looked at people's proposals, and it was the people who could show that, because everybody would have similar not everybody, but people would have similar topics, and the one that we selected was the one that differentiated themselves from the crowd, the one that was unique, the one that was articulate, the one that was well-spoken, the one that when you they say they're speaking on a topic, they speak on how they can present that topic. You're not just getting, because when you're in the virtual world now, you have people ask you for videos for you to explain what your topic is. And when you send a video that has nothing to do with your topic, guess what? That is going to make you stand out, but in a bad way, because it's like, okay, you said you speak on health and wellness, but the video that you sent me with you speaking had nothing to do with health and wellness. And so how do we know how you're going to present this, especially on a virtual stage? Because like you said, they have to be careful on the virtual stage because engaging people is harder because not only regularly virtually, and I was doing virtual events prior to COVID-19, but it's also a thing of you have kids now, you have pets now, you have the husband needs attention because everyone's in the house, or most of the people are in the house, so you have a whole lot more distractions going on than you would. And I would admonish people that if you do a virtual presentation, one of the ways to find out if you're engaging your people and to find out and engage the room is to have questions in your actual presentation, survey questions. So you do a poll if the platform allows for it. The poll comes up, and people would give people a certain amount of time to respond. If you have a lot of responses, then you have a lot of engagement. If you have medium, then you have medium engagement. If you have low, that means you have lost the room. So there are ways to do that and to move into that space, and it's still more comfortable because you're looking at responses to a question than, like you said, someone yarning. I have been guilty of it myself if the presentation was dull, which is why I used to sit up in the front. Now I sit towards the back because if the presentation is dull, I am stepping out of that presentation. Just because it is, and everything like that. So that could be a distraction if you have someone getting up, or again, you have someone giving you the mean face or the tired face, or I've even seen people fall asleep in presentations that were not as engaging. So it can be intimidating to anyone, but in particular for introverts, it's intimidating. And I think being an introvert is misconstrued as far as, because I hear people say all the time, you're an introvert, so you wouldn't be good at this. And I am an introvert, and most people say, well, I never knew you were an introvert. And an introvert is just somebody who needs time to process on their own and alone. We get our energy internal, and so we are the, receptors. Whereas other people are like the transceivers. They are sending out, and they get their energy from the crowd. And so that is the only difference. It's like sometimes we can get overload sensory overload is what I call it. And so sometimes, even during a conference, I have to take time during the day to just sometimes go up to my room if it's a place that I've traveled to and I have a room, just to get my thoughts together and just kind of de-stress a little bit and come back. And learning how to adjust to that. Most people, when you go to certain conferences, especially if it's yearly conferences, people are like, oh, you disappeared again. Oh, you must have had to recharge, because they know, okay, she's an introvert. So now, because conferences that are all-day conferences, and whether they're online, because online can actually be a little more taxing because you don't necessarily have the breaks that you have in a physical conference, can be very overwhelming for people who come, and also even the speakers. So that's just something to put out there. And I'm going to ask our guest, what is your advice for introverts who want to enter the speaking profession?
It is very unique to be an introvert and then be able to get on stage in front of 100, 200 people and blow them away. So I understand, but some of the best preachers you will ever hear are introverts. Part of presenting is introversion just means to go in. You think deeper, you go, well, all that time of going into yourself and thinking, that helps you develop the best analogies, that helps you to rehearse better, that helps you to present better and practice more. Most introverts are heavy readers, so you implement what you learned into your speaking. So the best way to do it is to do it. You just have to try. Okay, so, and but a lot of speakers, there's quite a bit of us who are introverted. Like me, I'm introverted in the corporate, but I'm an extrovert on stage. And it's just like, I don't know what it is, but it's a light switch that goes off. And so you just have to, especially if it's your gift. You know, some of you, if you are a teacher, well, you're presenting all day. That's all motivational speaking is teaching. And so don't think of it as, the Les Browns and the Lisa Nichols and the Jan Levan Zant. The principle is just teaching. It's just teaching. So thinking from that angle, of course you can present, okay? But you get better with practice, just like anything else. You get better with understanding, like I said, reading the room. And that's why I say it's best to, those of you who want to get into motivational speaking, is take advantage of these virtual events to do your practice. So you can hear how you sound, so you can see how you present, and then perfect it with each one. My hang-up, when I first started, I realized I did not know how to close. I knew how to get the hook. I knew how to build it, but I struggled with my conclusion. Well, that's something I'm working on. But you don't want to learn that in front of people. You don't want to learn that when somebody's trying to write you a check for $2,500, because that event planner is going to tell all her friends not to book you. You learn it now. With the events that are kind of cheap, they're not really paying you. That's the place where you get your practice in. That's where you build your confidence. You see what your highs and lows are. You see what you need to work on, and you work on it, and you get better and better with each opportunity. So,
and that is absolutely the truth. And that's what I tell people. I say, introverts have to practice. Extroverts have to practice. I sat down with introverts and I sat down with extroverts, and they do have to practice. Extroverts, because they get energy from the room, it is, I would say, a little bit easier because they're pulling that energy from the room, whereas you're pushing the energy out, to the room. And so, that tends to have a little bit more nerves. But once you get started as an introvert, once you tap into that internal energy, it does become easier. It definitely becomes easier as you do it. And I myself, I do, as a executive coach, tell people and business owners, people in corporate, that you can do Toastmasters. Get up and present there. Get up and, sign yourself up if you're in corporate for a project where you're going to have to speak to a room full of people. That's maybe 4 people in a room or 5 people in a room, and you can work your way up to it because now you have some skill of presenting. So you don't have to start out with the 350 person crowd. That being said, go ahead. Did I lose you, Karen?
No, I'm here.
Okay, I thought you were chiming in with something. So you go ahead.
Go ahead.
So you don't have to start with the large crowd. You can start with a smaller crowd and work your way up. Because I think that's one of the biggest fears, too. People's like, I can't stand in front of 200 people. Well, you don't have to, darling.
You can also, look for small speaking opportunities, in your family, in your church, in your sorority. Look for those warm audiences. Start with them. Get the kinks out. Get the bugs out. And eventually you can, standing in front of strangers will be much more comfortable for you. And, if you can teach Bible study, if you can teach, any place where you can teach, at your local community center to the teenagers. Kids are usually easy. But look for those places to kind of flex your muscles. It's like riding a bike. You don't want to start with the high speed, with the large crowd. Start with your tricycles, okay? Start there and start with the scooter, and build your stomach up for, you giving a great speech and somebody walk out in the middle, and how do you handle that? Or somebody's yawning and you think you're giving the speech of your life and somebody's yawning. How do you get over that? Okay?
Right.
And that person, you go through all of those emotions. You go through, learn how to dress, learn how to present yourself, having your business card. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, start small and then graduate.
Awesome. And we are going to get ready for our break in a few minutes, but I know I started out with the business side of it because, to be honest, before you can go into corporate, you have to speak to the leaders in corporate or the small businesses or the medium-sized businesses who are actually employing people and looking to bring people on, especially in the virtual world. So I wanted to gauge that, and also leaders who are transitioning from the boardroom to the Zoom room. So I wanted to deal with that piece first. And then when we come back from the break, we are going to discuss how people who are working in corporate and are transitioning from the corporate room to working from home, or they want to move up within corporate and they just don't know how to as an introvert. So we are going to go to break, and we will be back in 30 seconds.
Certified award-winning resume writing or career coaching service to help build your professional brand and help you get hired faster? Then you need VentureReady.net. Let the professional staff guide you step by step to land you your perfect dream job. Why go anyplace else? We've helped many people just like you develop a strategy to help you succeed. That's VentureReady.net. Let us convince you by calling 1-888-712-4956. That's VentureReady.net, the complete package for any career path you take.
All right, and we are back with Karen Scott of Karen Speaks, and she is talking about how to present yourself both in business and in corporate given the current climate of COVID-19 and going virtual, and how to work as an introvert and still move up corporately, still be successful as an entrepreneur and small business owner. And we spoke about the business aspect and to the leaders first, but now I'm going to ask Karen about people who want to move up corporately and how you can do that being an introvert, and how it can hinder you being an introvert to move up within the corporate spectrum.
So first, I want those of you who are introverts to examine the root of it. Some introverts it's natural. Some of it is nurture, and some of it is trauma-based.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to get to, is your introversion, if you come from a family of quiet people, well, it's all natural. But if you have a bunch of loud people in your family, but you're the quiet one, or something may have happened to make you go inward, you want to examine that, because there may be some healing that needs to be done. There may be some rejection issues, some abandonment issues, some imposter syndrome. Sometimes we get to a certain level in our career and we don't feel like we belong, even though we worked to get there. And so in the back of our mind, we don't think we're worthy to be making this much. We don't think we're good enough to be a manager. And so all of that plays into us pulling away from others. So I just want you to examine that first. Where's the root of your introversion? What is it? If you're a female, good girls are always quiet, and then if you are a person of color, you just, some of that cultural, just be quiet, be out of the way, or a lot of us, particularly as African Americans, mama don't like no loud kids. And you got to be quiet and be quiet and be quiet. And, we take a lot of that nurturing, we take a lot of those behaviors into the workforce. And introversion can be a blessing and a curse, especially because introverts, people assume you're not a good leader. People assume that you're unintelligent or untrustworthy. Well, who's trying to promote somebody who they don't think is a good leader? So I really want to challenge the introvert, okay? After you go deeper in just whatever religious belief ask God, ask the universe, what's the root of this? I forget which faith group talks about the blocked throat chakra, and people have messages stuck in their throat. But you want to get to the other side, but you're still going to have to come out of your shell a little bit. I'm going to challenge you to come out of your shell, because people can fear quiet people. And
yes.
It's the strangest thing. People can fear you. People can be intimidated by you. People assume you're not clued in. And people think you're mean. And it's just like, no, I'm just quiet.
Right.
And those of you who are supervisors, don't be mean to the introvert. They have something to say. Some of your greatest ideas will come from those introverts. Do not be biased. We talk about fat phobia and racism and colorism in the workplace, but we don't often talk about how even being introverted, people can have a bias and a discrimination against that particular personality type. So I'm going to challenge those of you who are supervisors and managers to get to know your introvert. You be the leader, okay? Because maybe that introvert may be intimidated by you. It's a two-way street. So, introverts, I want to challenge you, okay? I'm in corporate. I could be further along if I implemented some of these things earlier in my career, okay? So I'm speaking from experience, okay? What I want you to do is try to find 3 friends, okay? Build relationships with 3 people I know 3 sounds like a large amount, but you want to show the people who are watching you that you're approachable, that you're a part of the team, that you care about others. Like I said, people assume because you're quiet, you're cold, they have all these preconceived notions, but if you build some friendships, it'll go a long way. Because when somebody's looking at 2 resumes, resume 1, they have the same qualifications, same degrees, same everything. But person A is always in my office chatting with me, and person B is never talking to me, guess who's going to get the promotion? Person A. You got to build relationships. You got to build relationships. So the first person I want you to build a relationship is with your boss, okay? Every now and then, just stop in her office and say, hi, how are you? If you have children of the same age, talk about non-work related stuff. You know,
right.
If she's another woman, talk about makeup, talk about hair, talk about kids, talk about, you know, maybe if she's moving across the city or she's getting married, just talk. And you may have to put it in your calendar, like every Tuesday at 10, I'm going to have a little chit-chat with my boss. And you'll have to, because it's not, I hate to say it's not natural. As an introvert, you don't want to be bothered. But sometimes you will have to perform. Sometimes you will have to push yourself out of yourself, push past the fear, push past the, oh, what if she doesn't like me? What if she thinks I'm being too intrusive? What if she thinks I'm boring? What if she thinks I'm politicking? Yeah, she knows you politicking. Everybody else in the office is politicking. You better get on the train. I'm telling you what I know. I saw people who were much more comfortable with themselves, and they were talkative, sometimes even to the point of complaining about the organization, and they moved up faster because they built relationships with people on the team. And like I said, when it's you versus someone else, and y'all have the same qualifications, same time in, you know, but one person, everybody loves them. I'm not saying you have to be the social butterfly. You will never be, and that's okay. But you have to come out of your shell. And that's why I say tap into what is this introversion rooted in. And that's what I had to do. I don't know how I can stand on stage in front of people and strangers and flow. But with someone whose desk is across from mine, I don't want to talk. So I had to realize there was some stuff there. There was some stuff there that I had to heal, and I had to get honest about. Now, my father is an introvert. He's a deep thinker. So there's some natural stuff there. There's some genetics going on. But there also, in my senior year of high school, I had a very traumatic event. I lost a friend. And for some reason, I went in. For some reason, I just, like I said, it was stuck. You know, my voice, I just became afraid, or just, I don't know. And so I'm unraveling all of that stuff. So the first person you want to build your relationship is with your supervisor, right? Because they're signing your time cards. They're, you know, when you need extra leave, when you need a favor, that's a good person to have in your pocket. Second person I want you to try and build a relationship is someone who does not look like you. So if you are white, find someone who's black. If you're black, find someone who's Hispanic, white, somebody who's different, because diversity is the name of the game. If you could only hang with the people who look like you or use the bathroom like you, people are going to be suspicious. So I would provoke you, and that's also good because, you know, sometimes you don't know how you're coming across to people of other races. But if you built that relationship, people of other races can say, oh, she's cool. You know, she can hang with the Asian, she can hang with the white, and that's a great leader. That's someone who can handle the different personalities in the workforce, the different cultural backgrounds, the different sexual orientations in the workforce. And the third person I want you to work on is somebody who is kind of like your home girl, somebody who does look like you, someone who is, and you can start there, and you'll be surprised as you build those targeted relationships. Then all of a sudden, other people start wanting to hang around. They want to come to lunch with you, and you know what I'm saying, because they see that you're not like a turtle in your shell. You know what I'm saying? They want to come out and they want to play with you, and you know, you may be chit-chatting at somebody's desk and somebody come over, want to join into the conversation, and all of a sudden you got this larger web that just keeps growing. And they say, oh, Karen is sociable. She would be a great supervisor. Oh, that's exactly what I want you to think.
Exactly.
Okay? You know? Okay? They already know you're intelligent because you got the job. They already know you're competent because you're here. They ain't fired you yet. Okay? They already know you can handle the work. But when it comes to being a supervisor at the middle management, upper management, they want to see, can you handle people? Can you handle people? And so that's why you need to pull, you know, like I said, and at first you will have to put it in your phone every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. I'm going to chit-chat, just pretend I care. Not like that, but sometimes you just have to force yourself. Let me go by Rosario's desk. Let me see. You know what I'm saying? Because Rosario may be interested in you too, but she's afraid and you're afraid. And so, you know, especially if there's, you know, two different races, or it's a man and a woman, or something else, you know, there's like, I don't know how to approach her. She seems like she's cool. You know, every now and then she might pop up with a joke, but I'm not sure. So, you know, and even some of this, you know, all the social media, it makes us introverted because everybody's connected to their phone, but they're not building relationships in real time. So, like, just work on those three, and like I said, you'll build up a web. You'll build up a web of people, and people will say, oh, she's definitely a part. She's not just here to clock in and clock out. She's here with us, building relationships. That way, if anything's happening in the workforce that you need to know, you clued in. They're going to tell you, okay, because you're the homegirl. You a friend. So if there's any rumblings going on, somebody's getting fired, somebody's getting laid off, this is happening. You know, they're hiring in this area. They're expanding over here. You be the first one to know, okay? And as you get more comfortable, especially those of us, I want to say 30 and under, maybe even 35, millennials and Generation Z. I find that I was a supervisor. I find that baby boomers will talk to a wall. But the younger and younger generations really struggle with those interpersonal relationships. They'll send you a 1,000-word email when they could have just came to your office and had a 3-second conversation. So I want, especially, that's another part of nurturing. Now, maybe your family was extroverts, but because you're a millennial or Generation Z, you know, everything's on the phone. Okay? And so you just feel comfortable texting. You feel comfortable emailing. I'm saying word of mouth and those personal real-time relationships, I'm telling you, they are worth their weight in gold. Okay? So like I said, just try 3. If 3 is too much, just start with your supervisor. Just let her or him know that you're cool, you're grow. That way, if they can, maybe they can say, you know what I'm saying, in an informal way, they can say, sis, okay, you really struggling on this, and y'all can talk as friends as opposed to supervisor and underling, and y'all can talk as people. How can I help you? How can I help you get your training? Okay, because we build that rapport. That's what you want to build. You want to build rapport, okay?
Right.
You want to build rapport that you're cool, calm, collected. You're not, and Katrina, I don't know your audience, but especially as African-American women, I don't know what it is. We are not allowed to be quiet. We are not allowed to be introverted. People just assume we just the most. I'm talking about black and white people. Assume the worst about introverted black women. Don't know what to do. Don't let us be plump and dark-skinned, too. Oh, we're definitely supposed to be the life of the party. They really do not understand. I'm talking about black and white people. They really are just like a black woman who's quiet. They don't know what to do with us, so they want to throw us away. Or they want to, like I said, they don't want to promote you even though they know you can handle it. They don't see you as a leader because our culture has trained. They've been nurtured to see us always as the Monique figure or the Queen Latifah, these charismatic women who are wonderful, and we love our extroverted sisters, but that's not me. But I'm saying, and you might have to perform a little bit. You might have to say, okay, there's Karen, but I'm going to turn on Keisha right now, okay, because Karen is going to keep me stuck in this position in another 10 years. But I'm trying to be somebody's supervisor. I'm trying to be the vision director. I'm trying to be the CEO, okay? And so I got to tap into Keisha. I got to tap into that sister who's extroverted, and she just is the life. I'm going to take a little bit of what she got. I'm going to take a little bit of Medea, okay? I'm going to take a little bit of that charm and charisma that's there, because it's there when I'm on stage. So I got to pull it out at work,
right?
Okay? And so I challenge myself, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to start trying to build relationships, and then people will not be at their desk, or they'll look at you and be bored, like, why is she at my desk? Go by their desk again. Keep going, okay? There will be, anytime you try to make a step forward, the universe will send a test. Do you really want it? And it's going to test you, and you're going to be like, I tried, but they didn't like me, or they weren't at their desk. They only like this type of person. Or, you know, I get the, because, you know, black women age really well. So I'll go up to a woman, and I think she's my age, and she's 50. I'm like, oh, she don't want to talk to me. We in two different worlds. And that will be no. Build relationships with her. There's a reason you're interested in that girl. There's a reason you're interested in that particular person. It's not by accident that the Lord had, that the universe, God, whoever you want to call him, had you interested in that person. It's not by accident that you're working for this particular. It's not by accident. So take advantage of those relationships. And like I said, you'll get more comfortable. You'll get less fearful of people, the rejection. And like I said, people will gravitate because they say, oh, she is really smart. Or, like I said, introverts, people assume we're not intelligent. They assume we're spaced out. No, I'm here. I'm just quiet. And it's just, nobody thinks negative about extroverts except they talk too much. But that's not in the workforce. Someone who's talkative goes really, really far. People love extroverts, okay? And sometimes they have to learn to dial it down. But us as introverts, it's more pressure on us to dial it up. And I'm just saying increase the volume, okay?
Yes.
Like I said, you're intelligent, you're smart, you have great ideas, but the company cannot move forward without you saying something, okay?
Right.
They don't know it's on your heart. They don't know that you see these spots where the company could be 1,000 miles further and you got the answer, but you're afraid to talk. Okay, so, but they don't know. They can't read your mind. They don't know.
Right.
They don't. They can't. So you have to bring it out. It's up. You have to prove yourself to them, not the other way around. You're trying to become the supervisor. You're trying to become the division director. You're trying to become the next. The head of the agency, the head of the organization. So you have to prove yourself. So challenge yourself. I'm telling you, those little small chit-chat conversations, and you build relationships, honey, you will never be out of the loop. You will never see, people will be like, oh, you know who getting fired? Oh, all that stuff, you know what trainings are coming, you want to be on the list? Oh, yes, I do, because you built relationships, because I know you. Right. And so I know your heart. I know you're trying to work hard. I know you're ambitious. And so your supervisor, your staff, your peer, you look out for one another. So I'm challenging you introverts to come out of your shell. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, introverts tend to marry extroverts to balance us out, but they keep us very safe because they do all the talking. But I just want you to. My husband is an extrovert, and I just kind of study him, and he has no fear of people, and and that was a mirror to myself that I am not just naturally an introvert. There's some fear in me. There's some stuff I got to heal so I can properly present on a one-on-one basis and all that stuff. So those are some of the tips that I have. And I'm telling you, those of you who are extroverts, run with it, okay? Those of you who are extroverts, sometimes y'all talk a lot, but your work quality is suffering, okay? And the other way, those of you who are introverts, some of you do great work, but you're too quiet. You know, you're too quiet, and like a turtle, people don't know what to do with you. So come out of your shell. Come out of your shell. That's what I'm challenging you to do. Build a relationship with your supervisor, someone who does not look like you, and someone who does look like you. So you got your supervisor and two peers. And it may be helpful to get, you know, somebody from a different department, you know, that like a parallel department, because you can learn from that department, and they can learn from your department, and you can kind of see how each other's department affects each other, and that can help you grow. So,
right.
You know, just look out for those opportunities, and good luck.
Awesome. And you brought up some excellent points. One of the things that I found as being an introvert, when I started to speak up and had the confidence to speak up, is that introverts, yes, we are tuned into the moment, actually more keyed in than extroverts. And we tend to see things and details that extroverts just don't. Yes. And so you have a key role in your organization because you are going to be able to see things and present things that other people do not see. And I found that in my career, and I wound up being an auditor because I was able to see the forest for the trees, whereas a lot of times extroverts see the whole forest. Right. And so because I can see the forest for the trees and I can see what leaf is on this tree and this one is a pine tree and needles on the tree and things like that, then you tend to pick up things that would otherwise have been missed that can gain the company money or save the company from losing money. And so that is the thing that you would need to realize when you are speaking up in the organization. Introverts tend to come with solutions a lot of times because of the fact that you're looking and you're seeing and you're observing. And one of the things is that I found is introverts tend to be the confidants of the department. So people come and talk to you because you are the thinker. And this is a natural introvert, just someone who, and I came from a family of extroverts. But you know, being the position that I had in my family in the generation that I had, I was kind of the youngest. So everyone was already out there pushing their way through and everything like that. And I naturally just came quiet. Like, you know, I could sit in the room as a child and even as an adult. And sometimes I do still do that, you know, and everything and be invisible. And even as a leader, I did that because the best leader, and I was told this by extroverts, are good listeners. And so, you know, your gift as an introvert is a true gift because you can sit there and listen and gauge the room. I've done that for meetings, gauge the room of the people who was there, you know, looked and just saw, you know, the emotions of different people, how people felt, and everything like that. You can do that for a presentation before your presentation to see if you're there after lunch and people are yawning, maybe you need to make your presentation a little more lively. And the thing about it is extroverts are the most engaging, most interesting, and sometimes the funniest people when they get up and they actually start to express themselves. And I know that I have experienced as a black woman and also as in my career, found myself as a plus-size black woman, that is so true. People automatically assume that you're going to be the loudest voice in the room. And I had to get over that because I was just like, I'm not the loudest voice. Do I have some ideas? Yes. And I had to learn to push my ideas out. Sometimes, just being an introvert, you can start to talk, and because you have so many extroverts, people are talking over you. And I would have this woman, she's like, you don't really engage in meetings. And I said, well, I would start to say something, and, someone went over to her. They was like, you got to learn how to get in there. So I started raising my hand in meetings. And everything, just so I can get that attention in the room to say what I needed to say. So you don't necessarily have to scream over people, which is actually against the nature of a natural introvert and everything like that. Is just put your hand up. If you put your hand up in a meeting, people are going to take notice. And then you have the opportunity and the floor to talk and to speak your ideas. Also, introverts are good at asking questions that even extroverts are afraid to ask.
Right.
And so that will help you to stand out, because you'll ask a question that nobody thought to ask, or bring a feature that no one thought to ask. And it's funny that you said that extroverts pull out the characteristics of an introvert. And we tend to be around extroverts, sometimes so we can hide in a crowd, but sometimes an extrovert is very good at pulling out your gifts as an introvert, and pulling you into the room and pulling you into conversations. And so I found that as an introvert, a lot of times people did not know I was an introvert because I was around other extroverts who were able to pull that gift out of me, and so that may be what you need. Like, if you're an introvert, you don't want to be around a whole bunch of introverts, and so, that's what I learned. And I was like, I found that, my best friends are extroverts, are all extroverts. My friend, special friend, is an extrovert, and it, they make you more adventurous. They make you, because they're like, you just talked to me about that. You have a great idea. What was that idea, Karen, that you said that you had? They will put you on the spot. And now you're in the point where you have to speak up and speak out about what you were saying. And I like what you said about speaking up on the manager and speaking to them and building relationships. And because the thing about it is, both introverts and extroverts have a problem with this, but a lot of times introverts want to be all business because we tend to be that inner thought and analytical. But coming to the personal thing, they have a child, and you know that they had a birthday. Oh, so how was the birthday party for, Jane Jr.? And then start having that conversation and becoming likable, because people do tend to fear people who are quiet, because what it is I think it's the fear of unknown and not knowing what they're thinking. Right. And so when you start to have those conversations, it's like, okay, we know she's an introvert. And I've even had, in the beginning when I first started in my career, having conversations with my manager and then being pulled into meetings with higher level people, and having that introvert say, well, you know what, I was having a discussion with Katrina and she had a fabulous idea. Katrina, would you like to present it? And there I am in front of people. And then when I did that, I ended up on a project with people who are all higher level than me that ended up presenting to the President's Council of the organization that was the CEO and the executive board. And they were like, who is this person? Where does she come from? And how come we did not know she was there? And the thing about it is, I had been at the company for almost 10 years at that time. Wow. And that just had springboarded my career. And now I had little whispers when VPs came to me and managers like, oh, we were talking about you in the room, and I was told by an executive, and it stuck with me, is not what people say to you to your face, but is what they say about you behind closed doors. And the closed door conversation started to be like, who is this girl? She's such a talent. And the fact that the CEO was like, who is this? I never heard of her. She is extraordinary. We need to start doing X, Y, and Z and putting her on this. And they were like, oh, she's been here forever. Well, how come I did not know about her? Those are the conversations that will start to be had, and then you will start to get opportunities not just from your manager, but way above your manager.
Right.
So that's how sometimes you can even get opportunities around a manager that might not like you, because even if you're an introvert or extrovert, sometimes you have somebody who just looks at you on site and just doesn't like you. And that won't stop or hinder your conversation because you have been made known. And that is just by building a relationship. And I built the relationship actually with my HR business partner, trying to figure out why I was doing all of this stuff and couldn't move up in the organization and different things. And she was like, we have this corporate project coming up. And I was so intimidated in that first meeting because when I sat there and everybody who introduced themselves was a director or higher, and I was a line member, team member. And I'm like, why am I in this room? And it just so happened that the new executive director had just joined the organization. He sat next to me, and we had a conversation, and we're chatting it up, and I had mentioned an idea that I had, and we were on a project for process improvement. And he introduced himself, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. I was talking to the executive director, and he was like, and this young lady that I was speaking with, she had a fabulous idea. And when I introduced myself to him, he's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who you are. And I was just like, am I supposed to be in this room? I said, everybody in here is a director or higher. And he said, yes, young lady, you are in the correct room. And he said, because conversations were being had by you, but now that you're here, make sure that you continue to make yourself known in a positive way.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. Yes.
And so just having, yes.
That's another thing. She talked about going to luncheons and going out to eat with your staff members in the different birthday parties. Don't be antisocial introverts. Go to the baby shower. Go to the luncheon. Go to the retirement party. That's how you build, because you never know who's sitting right next to you. And you could be chatting it up, and y'all just talking about this person who's got a promotion outside of the organization, and you've just built a relationship right there. So,
absolutely.
Look out. I had a friend, she would never go out to the luncheons and stuff that people, they would have different morale things, and she would never participate. I said, sis, this is how you build your relationship, especially if you're a bit quieter, especially if you are of color. This is how you socialize. And it's nothing, she just wanted to clock in, do her work and let it stand for itself. I said, no, you have to build those relationships. So I love that idea, because I remember I had that situation too. I was, the names of your upper level management, but then they're just sitting next to you and they're being humble. They're not going to say, I'm your CEO. They just expect you to know who they are. But you had that conversation as people, and you'd be surprised that idea that you had blew him away. Look at that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And that is exactly the case. I'm actually looking at the time, and we are above the 9 o'clock hour. I knew this was going to be a fabulous show because I'm an introvert, and there are so many misconceptions about introverts. And the thing about it is I never thought about the fact that there were non-natural introverts, something that happened as a part of a trauma. So I have learned that, and I can speak from someone who's just a natural introvert. How no matter how I tried even as a kid to be an extrovert, because I wanted to be the extrovert, I realized that it just was not me. So I knew that I was, just an introvert, and there was nothing wrong with that, but it was learning how to function and operate in your skills and your gifts with being an introvert, and knowing that there is nothing wrong with being an introvert, that introverts are very much needed, and that just how, to have other people know that it was needed as well. And I was like, even in corporate, they knew, okay, Trina's starting to lose steam. It's time to wrap this meeting up. Because when you start having those conversations, you could tell people I'm an introvert. Sometimes I get sensory deprivation. Now, it's not happening 5 minutes in the meeting, mind you.
Right.
But when we're starting to get into over an hour, 2 hours, like they would really definitely see steam coming out of my ears. Or they knew that because I was an early riser, so I worked a 7 to 3 shift, that once we hit 3 o'clock, again, steam was starting to come out of my ears. So they were like, okay, we're going to have to wrap this up because we are starting to lose Katrina. Like, and it wasn't a bad thing because they just knew. Like, they knew that I had been going full throttle from about 6:30 that morning or 6:15 that morning from the time I arrived until 3 o'clock. And it was just like, so it was like, all right, let's wrap this up because we're not going to get anything else, good out of her right now. Right. But we know that when she comes back and she does the summary and she comes back with the information, her deliverables, they're going to be on time. And that even works with an extrovert too. Like if you know that this is an extrovert but they don't gear up until 10 o'clock in the morning, they will work around you and not make appointments or make meetings for you before that time, if it is within their power to do so. So that's another thing that introverts tend to be afraid of, the fact that, okay, eventually I'm going to lose steam and then they're going to say I'm not interested. Absolutely not. That's what building the relationships are for. People know that people have different limitations. People know that people sometimes, even extroverts get overwhelmed. From time to time. It's not known as much because they are like, out there, but even they get overwhelmed and they do understand because at the end of the day, we are all human and sometimes it's just that way. Even the same as sometimes people have a bad day, but people know this is just a bad day for X, Y, and Z person. And the only way that people will know is to get to know you, is for you to put yourself out there, is to know, because I hear a lot of introverts say that I just didn't think anybody would want to hear what I have to say, or I thought someone else would ask the question. They would just assume that the extrovert would ask the question that's burning on their mind, and then later they will come back and say, I was meaning to say this before. And in corporate, that's actually the worst thing to do after the meeting, because then people are like, we could have got some information or got this done or had this on the table beforehand. So speak up. The worst thing they can say to you is, well, we're not going to go that way at this time, or that's a great thought, but we're going to go in this direction. There's nothing wrong with that either. Sometimes people think they say not now is rejection. It is not necessarily rejection. It just means that they can't go that way at that time. But they may even circle back later and say, that idea you brought to us 2 months ago, we have funding for it now, or we have capacity for it now, and we want to run that.
Yes. Yep, sounds good.
Do you have any closing remarks for our audience? Because as I stated, we are over our time, but I did get a message from our technician that we did have a few extra minutes, and that was at the halfway point. He must have known this was going to be a powerful radio show tonight.
Like I said, I'm Karen Scott Speaks, all traditional spelling, www.karenscottspeaks.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. Let me know how I can serve you and your audience, and I'll work with you. Like I said, I have a buffet of topics I can cover. But if if you're an introvert and you just need some coaching, listen, I understand we're in this together. We are misunderstood, but we are still, valuable to the marketplace. So whether you're on the business side or the corporate side or both, you add value. And so, like I said, contact me. KarenScottSpeaks@gmail.com is how you can contact me to book or ask any questions that you may have, and we will go from there.
Awesome. That is so awesome. And I did read in your bio that you have a book out. Do you want to promote that?
Exodus is a 40-day devotional. Each devotional is one chapter from Exodus. And so it's very easy read. Exodus can be a very deep book, but I made it very easy for anybody to understand it, apply it. And in the winter of 2020, I have my first novel coming out called The Boy with No Parents. And This book came in a day. I just had to sit down, type it out, and in 2 days it was done. So we're going through the editing process and the illustration process and all that stuff right now, but look out for that. That'll be on Amazon as well.
Awesome. I do thank you so much for this engaging conversation. If you have any questions or comments for Karen, you can reach out to her in the means that that Karen mentioned, or you can send a comment through the Facebook page, and I will make sure that Karen gets your information or the question that you have so she can reach out to you. I thank you so very much for listening in to another episode of Career GPS, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Join us next Wednesday for more insights from career experts and thought leaders from around the globe. We'll help you reach the next destination in your career. To be a guest on the show, contact us at info@ventureready.net or call us at 888-712-4956.